Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. This is hairspray. Specifically, these are all cheap brands of hairspray that I got from various places. And the reason I've got these is because I've seen quite a few people talk about hairspray chipping. You've seen me use hairspray chipping before. I think it's a great technique, and I've seen quite a few people say what kind of hairspray should I use, and invariably there's a million different responses. You must get the really expensive brands, you must get this, you must get that, you know. Anyway, so I have found that I get very good results using cheap hairspray, as you've seen in the past. So I thought, just as a bit of an interest, I went out and I bought these hairsprays. Some I already had and some I bought. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through all of these hairsprays and we're going to do a little experiment, and we're going to see if all cheap hairsprays are created equal. So let's get on with it. Right, so let's start with this one. This is one you've seen me use before. This is actually nearly empty, this can. This is Asda Ultimate Hold. It's a 300 milliliter can, and I believe it cost 70p, so quite cheap. I've used this can a lot. As I say, this is nearly empty now, and I use this both for chipping and I also use it on the 3D printer. So that's the first one. Next we have this one. This is Sainsbury's own brand extra firm hairspray. This is also a 300ml can, and this also cost 70p. I have used this one, it does work, so there's that one. Right, this one is, I can't really read that, I think it's Ferne McCann Extra Firm Hold Hairspray with added Pro Vitamin B5. This came from the pound shop, so this was £1, but this one is only 200ml. So this, of all of them in the test, so this is the most expensive one. So there's that. This is Bristows Ultra Hold Hairspray, which is also 300ml, same as most of them. This one came from the pound shop as well, so it was £1. So it is more expensive than the Asda and Sainsbury's ones, but we'll see how it works. Next is this Systeme Pro Vitamin Extra Hold Hairspray, again with Pro Vitamin B5. Not that we really care about that, but you know, it might make a difference, I don't know. This again is a 300ml can. This one came from the range and also costs £1. So there's that one. And then last but by no means least, we have this one. This is Lacura Extra Firm Hold Hairspray, again with Pro Vitamin B5. Ultra fine non-sticky formula, so that should be good. And this one is actually a 400ml can, and this came from Aldi. Now this one was 75p, so 75p for 400ml. So this one is by far the cheapest. So I'm kind of hoping this one works because this is the cheapest one. So yeah, but actually one of the things I wanted to just mention quickly, because I've noticed with a couple of them, you see they have this kind of gold colouring and the imagery on them. It's quite sneaky really, because this is obviously meant to be similar to one of the biggest brands in hairspray. I'm not going to mention the name, but I'm sure you all know because you're worth it. But it's interesting that these cans, how similar they are to that name brand. I'm amazed they've actually managed to get away with it, especially Asda. But anyway, that's beside the point. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of these in turn and see how well they work. So let me show you the experiment that I have prepared. Right, so on to our experiment. This is a wing, as you can see. It's one I've used in various videos before, so you may well recognise this wing. What I've done is I have sprayed the underside of it black and then varnished it. Now, I'm just as an aside to this, I want to talk about how I did this, because it's something that's going to have a bearing on some future videos. I actually sprayed this with rattle cans. I have quite a lot of people ask me, you know, what do I do if I don't have an airbrush? So basically what you can do in some cases is get away with rattle cans. And I wanted to try something that I had, and I thought this was a perfect project to do it. So let me just put that down for a second. So the black is this Humbrol acrylic spray, Black Matte 33. So it's had one coat of this, and over the top of that is this. Now, you know I use Humbrol acrylic gloss varnish a lot. This is gloss 35. And I bought this rattle can. I actually bought it a while ago, before the whole lockdown thing happened. It's been sitting in my paint shed, or in my paint store, for quite a while. And I thought this was a great opportunity to try these rattle cans and see what they're like. Now, the black one I've used before for other projects, not necessarily modelling, but other painting projects, and I've been very pleased with the results. I'd never used this before, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I have to say, so far, I'm quite pleased with it. Now, I'm going to go into these in a bit more detail in another video, but I just wanted to show you that this was basically sprayed with these two rattle cans. So, that was that. Now, as for our actual experiment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this wing into strips with masking tape, and then I'm going to spray each section with a different hairspray, and then put a colour coat over the top and try and chip it and see what results we get. And that's why I went for the black primer, because I wanted something that would be very obvious under the colour coat. So let me divide this up with some masking tape, and then we'll go from there. Right, so I've masked this up. It may look a bit odd, but it's basically done in such a way that the wider strips are narrower, if you like, and they get wider apart as they go down. So there's basically the same, roughly the same surface area for each one, ish. Anyway, what I've also done is I've taken some pieces of kitchen roll and I've put some masking tape on, and that's basically so that I can mask off each segment as I go down, so that we don't get any overspray with the different types of hairspray. So what I'll do is I'll mask off each one in turn, give them a spritz of the hairspray just straight out of the can, and then we'll put some paint on it and see what happens. So I'll just put these on first. It's like, it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just really just to stop any overspray between the two sections. So we'll start with our old favourite, the Asda Ultimate Hold. Alright, that'll do for that one. Alright, move this down. Put one there. I don't know whether these are going to stick with all this hairspray everywhere, but we'll see how it goes. And we'll put one there. So now for our Sainsbury's. That's that one. Okay, now our this is the Lacura from Aldi. Let's give this one a spritz. Oh, that comes out quite heavy. Right, next our Systeme Pro Vitamin. This is the one from the range. Now for our Bristows. This one was from the pound shop. And last but not least, our, I think it was Ferne McCann Extra Hold. Oh, I might have to hold that on because it's come off. Right. Oh, it's all over my hands now. Okay, so that's all of them done. And I'll leave that to dry because basically I'm going to go and wash my hands because they're covered in hairspray now. Back in a sec. Right, so that's been a few minutes now while I've washed my hands. One of the things I get asked a lot is how long should I leave hairspray to dry before I spray over it? And the answer is, for me, not very long, a couple of minutes. Hairspray is designed to dry quickly because you spray it in your hair. It's no good if it's going to take hours to dry. I mean, I've just, like I say, been and washed my hands and I've come back and this is dry, and it's been literally 2 or 3 minutes. So you really don't need to leave it that long. And in fact, you don't want to leave it too long because otherwise it won't work at all. Anyway, that's beside the point. So I've left this for about 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the top of it and I'm going to use our old friend XF55 deck tan, mainly for the fact that obviously the difference between the black and this is not white, but it's a very light colour. So we'll be able to see very easily how well it's chipping. So I'll give it a spray of this and we'll see what happens when we try and chip it. Right, so that's sprayed, so we'll leave this for a few minutes to dry while I clean out the airbrush, and then we'll try and chip it and see what happens. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So we'll start with our Asda Ultimate Hold up here. So we'll just wet it up first. Okay. Oh, there it goes, it's going. Right, well that was fairly easy. That's come off quite nicely. Without just ripping off. Right, okay, so that's that. Let's try the Sainsbury's one next. So same deal again, let's just wet this down. Basically, the wetting down, the water will soak through the paint and reactivate our chipping fluid, which in this case is the hairspray. Well, that started coming off really easily. That's, I think, a little bit quicker, shall I say? Not necessarily better, but a bit quicker than the Asda. Okay, not too bad. So the next one is, this is the Aldi one, the, was it Lacura from Aldi. Now remember, this is the cheapest one of the lot, so I'm hoping this is going to work. Oh blimey, that's coming off really easy. That started coming off already, look. Wow, that's coming off very, very quickly. Look at that. Certainly there anyway. Maybe the paint's a little bit thinner. Right, let's see what this one works like. Oh, that is actually coming off really easily. I'm hardly touching this. With this one I actually had to give it quite a lot of, you can hear it. You can kind of hear it scraping, whereas this I'm barely touching it. Wow, yeah, that's coming off really, really easily. Yeah, that's certainly the easiest so far. That's just coming off very easily. I think the one issue I might have with this one is whether it comes off a bit too easily. Whether it's actually going to stay once it's been you know, varnished and everything. But okay, right, so that's that one. So next is the Systeme Pro Vitamin from the range. Give this a good wet down. That started lifting off already, look, in places. Not quite as easily as the Aldi brand, the Lacura, but it's seems fairly easy. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Okay, let's move on. The next is the Bristows, which is from the pound shop. So let's soak this one. Right, that's not come off with the soft brush at all. Let's see what it does. Well, there's a couple of little tiny spots that have come off. Yeah, it is coming off, but it's taking sort of a lot more effort to get it off. Yeah, not overly keen on that one, I have to say. Seems to be a bit unpredictable, if you like. Okay, never mind. Moving on to the last one, which is the Ferne McCann Extra Firm Hold, also from the pound shop. So let's see what this one's like. This is the most expensive one of the batch, because if you remember, our smallest bottle. So pound for pound, this one's more expensive than the others. Oh, that looks like it's starting to come off very easily. This is just the soft brush, remember, so all I'm doing is just rubbing it with the soft brush. Yeah, it's coming off just with the soft brush, actually. This actually is quite interesting, because I think this would be quite useful for if you just wanted some really light chipping. This might actually work quite well. Because you see, it's like this slightly raised line here, this joint, it's actually chipped that quite well, whereas the flat surface, there's a little bit of chipping, but not a massive amount. And again, round the edges, it's worked well, but again, it's left the surface, the centre, the flat part, relatively unmarked. So that might actually be quite interesting for certain applications. But yeah, not too bad. All right, let's dry this off and see what they will look like. Right, okay, let's have a look at these in a bit more detail. So this is our Asda hairspray. So that's not too bad, albeit fairly light work, if you like. So again, probably good for lightweight chipping. This one is our Sainsbury's, which it has worked, but it's a bit. I don't really like the look of it, to be honest. Yeah, not overly keen on that one. I mean, it's worked, but just not great. This one is our Lacura, the Aldi brand. This is the cheapest one. And that's not too bad, actually, and it actually came off quite easily. So yeah, quite like that one. I wanted this one to do well because it's the cheapest one. But yeah, that's not too bad. So the next one is our Systeme Pro Vitamin from the range. That's again not bad at all. Quite like that. That was not a bad result with that. Next we've got this is Bristows from the pound shop. Again, not terrible, not too bad, but not you know, not great. And then finally we got the Ferne McCann, which was the most expensive one, and I actually quite like that. I like the effect that it's had on this seam line and around the edges, while it's left the body of it relatively unscathed. So yeah, I'll tell you what we're going to do next. We're going to peel off the masking tape and see what happens. Right, let's peel this masking tape off. So I'm normally a bit more careful doing this, but for this it doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna rip it off. I'm not going to be careful with this at all. I'm just going to tear it off and see what happens. Because this is also a good test of the varnish underneath as well. See if that lifts off. This is like the weirdest invasion stripes ever. So they're all holding up relatively well so far. Ah, get off. Right, last but not least, well, that went quite well. no lifting on the edges or anything. There's a couple of little bits of where it's gone under the tape, but that is what it is. Yeah. Okay, right, well that's worked. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give this a coat of varnish so we can see what they look like with like a final coat on them, and we'll see what that looks like. Now, for varnish, I'm going to use this. So this is the Humbrol acrylic. This is the matte version, matte 49. So this is the matte version of the gloss that I used earlier. So I'm going to give this a spray on and we'll see how it looks. Right, so here it is with a coat of the matte varnish out the rattle can, and actually I think that looks pretty good. That's knocked the shine off it very nicely. No white bits or anything. Yeah, very pleased with that. And that literally was, I sprayed that on like a minute ago and just hit it with a hairdryer, and that's already, you can handle it and it's absolutely fine. So yeah, good stuff. Okay, anyway, that's not really the point. Just stay focused, shall we? So coming back to our little test here, I think we need to draw some conclusions, don't we, really? And I think the conclusion, the main conclusion, is really, from the looks of it, any cheap hairspray will do the job. You don't need to go out and buy expensive stuff. It would have actually been quite interesting to have bought an expensive one and tried it, but the thing is, I don't know anybody who uses hairspray, and I didn't really want to go out and spend a load of money on an expensive hairspray that no one's ever going to use. But anyway, so as far as our 6 test subjects go, I think the best performing ones were the Asda, the Aldi brand, what was it called? Lacura, that's the one. That's worked out well. And also the Ferne McCann from the pound shop, which is slightly annoying because that's the most expensive one. But I think if you look at these, the effects, so that's the Ferne McCann. I think that looks really good. I like that one. And this is the Lacura. I like that one. It also came off very easily as well. You didn't have to scrub away at it. And then that's the Asda one. I mean, to be honest, they've all worked. They've all worked. I think you could get perfectly good results with any of them. So I think what I would say as a final sort of conclusion to this is, if you're going to do paint chipping with hairspray, just use the cheapest one you can find. You don't need to spend a fortune on it. Yeah, so that's about it really. Anyway, let's wrap this up. I hope this was of interest to some of you. It seems to be a subject that's, you know, quite contentious. So hopefully this has gone some way to helping you make a decision on what hairspray you're going to buy to do your hairspray chipping. So yeah, hopefully this was of use to some of you. It's certainly been an interesting little experiment for me. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, bye.